What are you creating? Who is it for? And why? Pablo Picasso is widely quoted as having said, "Good artists borrow. Great artists steal." So what does this mean? It means even the world's best artists are continually borrowing ideas from other artists that inspire them, that influence them, across all mediums. And those who do it best are those who steal the ideas instead of just mimicking them. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of exposing the world of art to people who think they don't really know how artists create all that stuff. So this means that the act of creativity for human beings starts with inspiration from other things that have already been created by others. This is true even for the professional, actually very much so. But when we talk about life, creativity is not limited just to the music that you hear or the art that is on the wall. In fact, almost everything we do would require our creativity. So this message is about creativity. What are you creating? Who is it for? And why? First of all, if we want to learn from what Pablo is saying, then we should learn from the best. We should not only borrow from the best, we should steal from the best creator of all. Who's that? It's God, our heavenly parent. So just stop for a moment and think. The entire created world, the entire created universe was created as a result of a creative process. Everything that exists in nature came about as a result of a specific creative process. So we can borrow the ideas from what was manifested, but we can also study the process that God went through to actually create it. How did God create? This is the question. Well, I'm gonna listen to what Father said about this. He said, in order to create all things, God had to pour out his very essence. That is, he invested a great deal of energy. This could have depleted his energy and resulted in God suffering a loss. Yet, he created the world with love to be his object partner. And he devoted himself to fulfilling this purpose. Okay, so there's 3 lessons that we can learn from this text. Pay attention, write it down. Number 1, God had a purpose. God had a vision that was rooted in love for the sake of others. God had a purpose and a vision that was rooted in love. God did it for love. Father said that he didn't run out of energy because he did it for love. And that love was for you and for me. Number 2, God invested all of his energy, his entire essence. But he didn't run out of energy because the purpose was love. So these 2 things create perpetual motion, never ending. The third point was God devoted himself to fulfilling this purpose. That means God is committed. So first of all, the purpose is love. Secondly, he invested everything. And third, he's totally committed, no matter what. So let's look first at these first 2 points of purpose of love and total investment of energy. Father also said that in the world of physics, the input is greater than the output. But in the world of love, the input is less than the output. Do you understand? So usually when things are consumed, they are depleted. They are depleted. But in the case of creating the universe, even though things are being continually consumed, things are being continually created at a greater rate than things are depleting. How is this possible? It's because the purpose is love. The energy that is driving the never-ending, always expanding universe is love. The energy is love, because the purpose is love. God was not doing any of this for himself. From the beginning, God has been creating for the purpose of love, to make you happy, to make us happy, and to experience the joy, not just by ourselves, but together with each other and together with God. That is the purpose of creation. So how are we doing? I think we can be honest about the fact that something went wrong. But God didn't give up. God did not give up. And that is because of point 3, total commitment. God is devoted to his creation process, and God will not stop until his vision and purpose comes about. Until it is completed, God will never give up. Okay, so if this is true, how can we apply these 3 lessons to our lives? Well, first, it's worth noting that 3 things can go wrong. 3 things can go wrong in your creative process. First of all, the wrong purpose. You might have the wrong purpose. Your purpose might not be clear enough, or it might not be rooted enough in really bringing benefit to others. If your vision, if your purpose for doing anything at all is rooted in bringing some positive benefit to others, then your purpose is going in the right direction. Number 2, the next thing that could go wrong is you don't give it enough energy. You don't invest enough of yourself. You don't invest your total essence into the thing that you're doing. And usually this can be because you're doing it for the wrong purpose, because these first 2 things really go together. So it's likely that you will run out of energy unless the purpose for which you're doing it is really rooted in something bigger than yourself, something that is positive for the sake of others. The third thing that can go wrong is simply that you give up. And frankly, the reason you may give up is because either one of the first 2 things is not going right, or something successfully stops you. Something or someone stops you from the outside and forces you to give up. So I want to tell you a short story of my youth. When I was a teenager, I was in a school band. I didn't know how to play the guitar, but I wanted to be in the band with my buddies. So I learned how to play the guitar. The beginning of summer, I bought a guitar. Thank you, Dad, bought me a guitar and a small amp. And I practiced every day. And my purpose was just to be good enough to join the band. And so the band let me in at the end of summer when we got back to school. And we used to write music together. And we were invited to play for the school, for the students at the school events and school parties. And so I used to play, and we used to write songs together, and we used to perform on stage, playing the guitar and singing with energy. We used to invest a lot of energy. And even in the summer, when my father moved my family to Italy, I used to bring the band to Italy, and we used to go on tour. We used to play at clubs and restaurants and village festivals. We used to get ourselves on the radio, interviewed on the radio, before the performances. We used to tour around central Italy, and, we had a lot of fun. But as I grew up, looking back on those years, I reflected on my motivation. What was my real purpose for doing all of that in the first place? It was to have fun. It was to have, good times with my brothers. But also there was a part of it that was about kind of being cool, looking and sounding cool on stage. And perhaps that motivation was a little bit bigger than my motivation to make others happy. I reflected on this in later years. Did I really want to bring joy to others? I think I remember wanting to make my dad proud. That's good. But ultimately, it was kind of maybe more about wanting to be loved than really loving. And I can be honest that may have been one of the reasons that I gave up. I gave up that dream. And as an adult, I reflected that maybe my motivation should have been more rooted in really bringing joy to others more than anything else. And perhaps then I would have had limitless energy to invest in that creative process. There's other times in our lives when we may find ourselves bored, not particularly invested in anything, perhaps feeling depressed and feeling without purpose. Well, if we feel without purpose, it's probably because we are not exercising our creativity the way God exercises God's creativity. We're either not doing it for the right reason, or we're not investing enough energy, or we're giving up because either of those two things are wrong, or allowing other people to stop us. But God never gave up. God invested everything, and God did it for an eternal reason that He never will give up on. We were born for this. We were born with that same nature. We were born with that same nature. So we should be creative, and we should root our creativity in a purpose that's bigger than ourselves, that brings joy to others. We should invest ourselves totally, and we should never give up. Never give up. What about working with others? What about working in groups? What about trying to lead others to be creative? Now we're talking about multiple dynamics, not just you with your art brush in your art studio, but how are you going to bring about a creative process when you're working with others or when you're leading others? Well, first of all, I want to say, don't suppress other people's creativity. Foster their creativity. Encourage others to find their creative voice, to find their creative passions, and invest themselves for good reasons. When we're working in a group, we must have a common objective. We have to first set that vision and purpose that is beneficial to all and beneficial to something that's even greater than the group itself. So I should have had a meeting with my band members, and I should have said, guys, why are we doing this? Sure, we want to be cool. Sure, we want to have fun. But is there a bigger reason than just our individual purpose? Is there a bigger reason than even our group's purpose? What is it that this group is living for? What is this band living for? We should have thought, we want to bring joy to our audience. We just want to make them happy. We want to make them inspired. We want them to go home after the concert and not just feel like that was fun and inspiring, but in some way improve their lives. So the beat should connect to that. The chords should connect to that. The way we move our bodies should connect to that. The lyrics should connect to that. The lighting, the sound, the image, everything should connect to that purpose. And after every song, after every concert, we should evaluate our success in achieving that goal, which is greater than any one of our individual ideas. It's the same for your small group. It's the same for leading your community. It's the same for your family. Same for your nation. What's the purpose of your nation? What's the purpose of your community? What's the purpose of your band? What's the purpose of your business? What's the purpose of your family's existence? First of all, everyone in your group has a unique contribution, a unique creative voice that they must be allowed to make. If you suppress that as a leader, you're just simply shooting yourself in the foot. Because everyone in your family, everyone in your community was made not by you, but by God, and has God's nature that is just like God. Wants to do something, wants to create for a great purpose, wants to invest energy into it, and wants to commit themselves wholeheartedly without giving up. So don't suppress others, and don't think that your idea as a leader or as an influencer is enough. Your idea is not enough. If your band, if your family just completely unites with what your idea is, it will not be enough. It must include the creativity of others. Chonilguk, the kingdom of heaven, must include your creative contribution. Every single Chonilguk citizen, every single citizen of Chonilguk must, by definition, bring their individual creative beauty and contribution. Otherwise, it's not Chonilguk. True Parents' eldest son, Hyojinim, understood this very well. He created with total energy for the sake of Heavenly Parent and True Parents, and he never gave up. He understood that creativity required certain things to look different as we go towards the common objective. Listen to this. He said, let's say that 3 of us are assigned to create something about Father's life. One person might have a talent in music. One might be an excellent poet, and another might be a great graphic designer. Whatever it might be, they may differ slightly in the way they manifest their creativity. So, if I give that theme to these 3 people who differ in their talents, the results will be different. He gave the example of himself. He said, I may praise my love and devotion and respect to True Parents with my music. And that will be completely different from someone who expresses it through illustration. So people don't lose their variety or their uniqueness. Hyojinim understood there may be many ways to manifest. There are many ways to manifest creativity and beauty. The expression of your creativity, the expression of your beauty will be unique. But the common objective is for a greater good. So guys, if we want to be creative, and we have to be creative because we were born of a Heavenly Parent who themselves is creative. If you're bored, if you're depressed, if you're tired, if you're lonely, if you're lost and confused, it may be because you don't realize you are a creative machine. You were born to be creative. You were born to create the way you make your food, the way you communicate, the way you clean your house, the way you design your room, the way you put on your clothes in the morning. Everything is an act of creation. And we should trust one another. We should expect great creative things from one another. Not just following along like robots. Be very careful what you understand about absolute obedience. If you want to be absolute obedient to the principle. But understand that the method, the manifestation, the way it is done is completely and entirely your freedom and responsibility. Do you understand? So, if we're going to create, let us not just borrow from the best, let us steal from the best. 3 powerful life hacks to boost your creativity. Number 1, make sure that your creation has great purpose, rooted in a vision that will bring joy to others in some way. 2, invest your total energy. And 3, never give up. Never give up. So, guys, here's the exercise. Answer this question. What are you creating? Who is it for? And why? Have a great day. Have a great week.